Um, yep, looks like it.
Okay, great.
All righty. Can you all see that? Everybody can see that okay? Okay, cool. Let me throw it into slideshow mode and we'll go ahead and get started. And again, I'll try not to drag this part of it out too long so that there is time for conversation and you don't, I know it's the end of the day and everybody's probably fried. So, I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Michael Riley. I am the co-founder and executive director of Foodshed Capital. And I'll take you through just some background on what we do. I mean, this is really about like accessing capital in general. So I don't want it to be like, oh, we're the only game in town because we're not. I mean, there are other options out there. So, but I obviously favor what we do. We do what we do because we feel like there aren't a lot of good options out there. But again, with that said, I want to make sure that everybody's clear that I, open to answering other questions as best I can about what other alternatives there are to what we do. All right, so Foodshed Capital, and seriously, at any point, if somebody wants to come off mute and jump in and ask a question, feel free to do that. I'm at full screen here and I can't really see the chat and I can't see people on the screen. So just unmute and jump in if you have a question or you want me to expand on something. All right, so we were just founded four short years ago in 2018. We started out as a small, slow money program in Central Virginia around Richmond and Charlottesville. And our mission is to provide financial stewardship to small, we say mid-size, but that's sort of open to interpretation. I'd say for the sake of argument, it's really small scale farms and some non-farm food businesses. And so we do that through our patient capital loan fund, and that's what we'll talk a lot about, accessing capital. And we also do provide technical assistance focused really on the financial aspects of running a farm business. Here's just a recap of our history. As I mentioned, we started as a small, slow money program. I'm not sure if many of you know what slow money is, and it's really not that important here, other than to say that it did sort of really establish certain values for us in terms of how we wanted to approach the work that we were doing. And I'll go into that some more in terms of, how we are different and sort of what we're trying to do to not only think outside the box, but kind of recreate the boxes around lending to farms. We made our first loan in January 2019. It was to Renard Turner. Hopefully some of you saw him speak in the keynote. What was that, last week, right? No, or a week before, I guess. Gosh, time flies, at the Future Harvest Conference. We formed Foodshed Capital in 2019, so we were sort of an unnamed entity before that. And so our official formation was Feb 2019. We became certified as a CDFI in May 2020. And I'll talk a little bit more about what a CDFI is. In September 2020, we made our first loan outside of Virginia. So we expanded gradually from the small little Charlottesville, Richmond area to working throughout Virginia. And we now work really in the Mid-Atlantic. That's what we consider our focus to be. We lend in addition to Virginia, we lend in Maryland, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. We haven't done anything yet in Delaware, inside DC or in West Virginia, but we consider those to be like within our geographic scope. And we're also actually looking at doing some work in New York as well. In July of this past year, we did our 50th loan, which is our big milestone. We've actually done 61 total now. And in November 2020, we were recipients of a $250,000 regional food system partnership grant through USDA, of which Future Harvest is one of 8 partners. So we're super excited about that. So I mentioned this CDFI thing. Probably none of you have ever heard of it, and that's fine. To be honest, I had never heard of it either until about 3 years ago. I do not have a background in lending. I had a previous career running a a business that had nothing to do with food and farming. But I got into this work because I did have a lot of personal relationships with farmers in my area, just being a customer of farmers. And then eventually started doing a lot of volunteer work. I was on the board of the Charlottesville Farmers Market and just really got to know a lot of farmers and developed relationships with them and began to learn more about their difficulties accessing capital. But I didn't know what this CDFI thing was, and was told about it and decided that it was a good path for our organization. And essentially what it is a designation that is awarded through the U.S. Department of Treasury for lenders who serve underserved markets. So we know that banks don't typically provide capital to all types of businesses that have difficulty meeting the stringent requirements of banks, of which small farms are just that very type of creature. And so our work really qualified us to receive this designation. And the importance of it is that it does allow us access to some funding, particularly grant funding, that is not accessible to anybody else unless you are designated as a CDFI. And it does add legitimacy to our organization, that we're not just some fly-by-night entity that that doesn't have any kind of credibility beyond it. So it does add that credibility. For us, what we do is really about capital access. It's really rooted again in this concept that, or this really reality, it's not a concept, it's a reality that farms don't easily have access to capital that a lot of even small businesses do. We know this for a fact, and it has a lot to do with requirements that banks have around collateral, around credit scores, cash flow. And frankly, it just comes down to the fact that most people in the financial industry think of farming, they think of large scale agribusiness. They don't understand smaller scale organic, regenerative, biological farming techniques. And, of course, the first thing they ask is, about crop insurance and all that stuff that is, sort of in a whole nother realm. But really taking it a step further, we really are doing what we do because we just want to find a way to do things differently. And honestly, this comes from my own personal distaste for systems that I find to be bullshit, for the sake of, or the lack of a better way of putting it. Like, anybody who's borrowed money before from a bank knows how cumbersome and complex it is, like stacks of documents that you've got to provide through the application process, and then stacks of documents that you have to sign, and nobody really knows what they say. And they ask for a lot of things that, just seem like you're just really providing information for the sake of paper pushing so that somebody could, I don't know, maybe get paid to do a job that really isn't that necessary in the first place. So it's kind of being a little cynical about that. But the fact is, we really do want to strive to kind of deliver capital in a different way. And so we're doing that. And it started with our program being very simple. Our first loans, our first year or two of lending they were 0% loans. It was like a 2-page application, 1-page promissory note, unsecured, no collateral, flexible terms. And we've tried to carry that forward. It's become, more challenging as we do more work, as we have grown. We've had to borrow money ourselves. And so when we are on the hook to creditors, we have to play the game a little bit more, but at the same time, we're trying to make clear to the people that fund us that we do want to do we do want to do things differently. And so we hope they will be aligned with our mission as we do that. commensurate with this whole idea of trying to deliver capital differently is a program we launched this last year called the Black Farmer Equity Fund. And it really doesn't have to do so much with lending to Black farmers, because we had been lending to people of color, since we started. Our first loan actually to Renard was a Black farmer. But what it was about was really to raise philanthropy in support of what we call more of a reparative lending model, one where interest rates are not an issue, 0% interest rates, unsecured loans, robust technical assistance to support the process. And so really what we're trying to do with this is to get philanthropists to truly put their money where their mouth is. There was a lot of excitement out there after the George Floyd murder, and everybody was saying how much they want to support this work. And as often happens, that sort of faded a little into the background, and we're trying to keep it front and center. And we hope to elevate and amplify that work, and hopefully, expand it to, all socially disadvantaged farmers, and provide a lending model that is low cost, flexible, and scalable beyond a certain size. Our largest loan to date has been $50,000, and we know that farmers often have needs beyond that, particularly when it comes to acquiring land. So we want to be able to scale the work, but in order to do that, we need philanthropy, and that's really the push that we are making with this fund and with this program. So for us, our lending criteria is listed here. Small scale farms, diversified farms, which, food-based. We're a food-focused organization, as our name kind of attests, but we do look for diversification very much. We work with a lot of farms that also grow flowers. We're asked about hemp all the time. We support hemp, but we like to see hemp in combination with some sort of food crop, ideally. And then other types of revenue generating activities, whether it's we have some farms that have Airbnbs on them, or other forms of agritourism. So those are really positive things. Firm commitment to eco-friendly practices. So we don't have like a checklist we go down by any means, but we certainly look for that that emphasis on non-chemical based farming. We do work with non-farm food businesses. I don't think that's totally relevant here to this conversation, but just so you know, but those businesses, the important thing for you all is that we will support non-farm food businesses, but they must support local agriculture. So that's critical. Alignment with our mission and values, which we list on our website. We do prioritize BIPOC and women-owned and under-resourced borrowers. I left this in here, and I probably shouldn't have, because it always is a topic of, it's a question, particularly for newer farmers, but track record of financial success. Yeah, we look for farms that have demonstrated that they know what they're doing, and that they're able to operate successfully. We know that financially farming is very difficult, so we're not necessarily looking for soaring profits or anything like that, but just an ability to make it work. But at the same time, we do work with new and beginning farmers, or we wouldn't. We have quite a few actually projects that are new farmers. And we work with them as long as they have past experience, and they have demonstrate the capacity to actually run their own farm. And then tied in with both those two things is technical assistance. We provide technical assistance, and we seek out partners who are eager to engage with us on that. If somebody's really just not that interested in working with us over the longer term, then that's probably a project we would maybe look to pass on. For us, the application process is intended to be different than what you would get through USDA, FSA, certainly through a bank, and even through quite a few, other lenders. There's a link on our website. You fill out create an account, and there are a lot of questions, but most of them are pretty straightforward. They're narrative. Tell us about why you do what you do. What are your pain points? What causes you to stay up at night or lose sleep at night, things like that. We don't ask for a pile of documents by any means. We do ask for some records. We don't look at credit scores. We ask for, if you have profit and loss statement, tax returns are important, just so we, number one, want to make sure that you have the capacity to repay, not because we're looking to make money, because we don't do this to make money as a nonprofit necessarily, but we want you to be successful. And we know that, incurring debt is challenging. I'm sorry, my dog is like scratching at my door to get in, but hopefully you can't hear that too much. So debt is, it's not for everybody. And we're mindful of the fact that, borrowing money can be very stressful. It can be very challenging. It can be beneficial, but it can also, of course, be challenging. So we want to make sure that you're set up for success, and so that's why we look at things from a standpoint of looking forward. What can make you successful? We always try to visit the farm, and we know that that's the best way to build relationships, and relationships are the cornerstone of the work that we do. We use a quarterly closing cycle. It's pretty straightforward. We close loans typically at the end of each calendar quarter. So we ask, we try to require everybody to get applications in at the beginning of the quarter. And usually that means we can turn things around, anywhere from like a month and a half to 2 months. We can do it quicker if need be, if there's an extenuating circumstance that requires some more alacrity. We did that last, like the end of December. We had a bridge loan that we closed within like 2 weeks. They needed the money to get their project going. And so actually that leads to the next point, which is, what can the money be used for? Equipment, infrastructure, working capital. We list land. We have actually not yet done a land loan, but we have a couple of projects right now in our pipeline. And then bridge loans for awarded grants. So, if you're a farm, let's say, and you get an EQIP grant for like a high tunnel, you have to come up with the money up front to start the project and complete the project so that you can get reimbursed. We always are eager to support those types of projects with bridge grants. So bridge loans, we would give you the loan, and then the loan gets repaid when you get the grant. As I said, current amounts are up to $50,000. We are looking at expanding that this year, but we're still kind of debating that. Our rates are 0 to 4%. So the standard rate is 4%. For Black farmers, we have right now this fund up to a certain amount that will allow for 0% rates. Our terms are really flexible. We like to have everything ideally paid back within 7 years, particularly for larger loans. Our typical terms are 3 to 5. And we offer some pretty generous grace periods when need be, or anything from 3 months to a year, depending on maybe where somebody is in the production cycle and cash flow and all that. And we're very flexible on repayments. We all the time, we extend some flexibility around deferring a payment if need be, if there's an issue that has come up and someone needs to skip a payment. And then again, we have not, to this point, we've not really collateralized most of our loans. When we do, we consider it to be non-extractive, meaning that the collateral is only directly tied to the loan itself when we can do that. But we're not really, we don't ever really want to have to like repossess any assets. So our approach is we don't ever really want to do that. Then why play the game up front? And so for us, we really just stress the relationship and the benefit that we're trying to offer to the farming community. So, we hope that farmers who partake in our program will understand that and make an effort to pay back so they can pay it forward to other farmers that can benefit down the road. I mentioned technical assistance, a key part of our work, even more so. It seems like not a day goes by that we don't look at, how we can step this up even more. We're adding staff this year to buttress that work. We're hoping to hire our own QuickBooks person in-house. We farm that out a lot right now, but we want to have our own staff person that basically can come in and work with with all of our farm partners on their bookkeeping and get their books up to stuff and keep them that way during the course of the time that they're working with us. Let's see, and so this is again just a snapshot of what we've done: 61 loans, $755,000 in financing. Most of our loans again are on the smaller side, we average I think just under $20,000 now. Just again, things I think we've talked about. We prioritize women owned or women operated, not necessarily owned, but we know a lot of farms, might have an LLC with a particular person listed as a manager, but it's actually often more people that are involved in the operation. And we talked about the geography, mentioned the RFSP partnership. And I do want to circle back on this just because if there are any livestock farmers, definitely reach out to us or keep an eye on the work that we're doing here, because the purpose of this project is to aggregate regeneratively verified meat products. So looks like somebody's not on mute. If you could just check your mutes to make sure that you're on mute. So the reason why we are doing this is philosophically, we know that to develop regional food sheds, we need to be able to work together collectively as producers, and oftentimes for livestock producers, it's really challenging to develop any sort of market beyond like the farmers market, and that's a saturated market. Most farmers markets now are full of vendors. People that have been there for a while seem to sort of have a lock on sort of the customer base, and it's really hard. It's impossible to say to farmers like, hey, we want more of you producing meat. So good luck, and see if you can make a go of it down at the farmers market. It's not a model that has any future behind it. So we believe that this idea of regional collaboration and cooperation is critical. So what we're trying to do here is we're working on verification program that can verify regenerative outcomes rather, and hopefully aggregate the product to move up the supply chain into institutional procurement. So 4P Foods is a regional food hub, and they have relationships with universities and other institutional buyers. And so the goal is to increase the amount of regenerative meat products that universities are purchasing. And there's very encouraging evidence out there and examples out there of this already happening on a very small scale, and we just want to expand it. And so, if you are a livestock producer, definitely, feel free to reach out because we, love to kind of connect you into the work. And I think that's it. I thought I had, oh yeah, there we go. Sorry, I did have my contact information on there, and if you're not following us already on Instagram, definitely do that. keep up with the work that we're doing, sign up for our newsletter. And with that, I will say thank you and then open it up now for any questions. And also, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about other alternatives that are out there, but let's kind of open it up here for questions.
It looks like there's a question in the chat for you. Is there a land or lot size requirement, such as minimum or maximum size?
No, no, no minimum. I mean, we work with farmers that have, are farming, they're producing on, quarter acre. We'd like to see, we're here to support small farmers and help them succeed no matter how much land they have to work with. We obviously, again, going back to what I just was talking about, in regard to aggregating, livestock production, we want to do the same on the crop side as well. So we want to work with farms in a way that can help them access into markets that might not be able to do on their own. So the actual size of the farm doesn't matter. I think it's really more about what's the vision behind, like what you can do and how you can play an important role in helping to support the food shed.
Are y'all able to unmute yourself? I muted a couple people because there was some noise. You're able to unmute yourself, correct? Okay, good. Just making sure. All right. Yeah. So did anyone have any other questions?
Last part of that question, sorry, is are you sharing these slides? Because I was trying to catch the last 3 slides. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send them to Amy Rose. I can send the whole presentation to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Johnny, I am actually recording this and then I'll post it to our BFTP YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you.
So then, like, whenever you're ready to use it, you can look at it again.
Perfect.
What are some of the some of the more beginner farmers, what have you considered some of the most, like, it sounds like you follow the farms pretty closely. What are some of the most important pieces of equipment that you've seen funded?
Some of the pieces of equipment.
Equipment, or what stuff have you been seeing that's been making huge strides for those guys?
Yeah. A lot of the equipment we've funded has been for poultry processing. We've done, quite a bit of, for farmers that are trying to, scale up their poultry operation, just needing more, processing equipment, pole barns. We've actually done quite a bit of storage, refrigeration. That seems to be a pretty popular thing and effective thing, obviously, for farms to be able to grow and to, do their work more effectively. It's like, one farm we worked with was like, man, they had like 20 coolers in like a basement of like their house, and they had to walk like, they were doing a lot of chickens, and so they had to walk like 300 yards with coolers to like put, store this, just crazy stuff. And we were able to fund basically like a huge, outdoor cooler that, allowed for them to literally just walk 10 feet. It made a big difference, and just helping them from efficiency standpoint and helping them grow.
I can attest to how ridiculous and difficult that is, because on my farm I actually did do that because I did not have enough cold storage in a convenient place. And there are, even if you don't have electricity near what you're doing, there are resources like D-Grid Energy that are local to the region that have solar powered mobile units that you could use Michael's financing for to get, and they are fantastic.
Yes, good point. Thanks, Amy Rose. Yeah.
And you can actually use those to power other equipment in the field also, if you don't have electrical hookups. So there's lots and lots of solutions.
Yeah. And I think what I'll do now is just take a few minutes to, I said I'll talk about alternatives and just, discuss other funding options. Some of you may already know of other options. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to tell you anything, anything you already know, but there are other programs like that are similar to ours. I think we are pretty unique in our approach and certainly in our regional concentration, but would say the other organization that is probably most similar to what we do is Steward. Some of you may have heard, we did a joint presentation with them at the conference week before last. They have a process that is really kind of innovative. They use sort of what they call loan participation process. The benefit that they have over us is, they kind of seem to have almost an endless number of investors out there willing to invest in this work. So they have been able to take on more projects and bigger projects than we've been able to do. They're a little more onerous, I think, for the farmer, in that their rates are higher. They typically charge 7 or 8%, and you also have to you have to do sort of like a crowdfunding sort of process to get the whole thing going. So you have to like reach out to your own network and find like a certain percentage of people to participate. So that's definitely one option. There is a question about when the best time is to take a loan. And can you apply if you're just starting out? So 2 really good questions. I don't think there's really any like formula to like when the best time is to take a loan. I think the best answer to that is when the loan could be used, if there is a time when the loan can really help the business grow and take that next step that you wouldn't be able to do without the funding. Because if you're just taking out a loan to kind of keep the status quo, like everybody encounters rough patches, right? And it's like, you hit a rough patch, whether it's a weather issue or like a personal issue, and you need funding to kind of get you past that. That's one time that, taking out a loan just to kind of, keep the status quo would certainly be acceptable. But more often than not, you want the loan to be used to help you to take that next step, because you want to be able to, grow your revenue enough to be able to pay back that loan. What we really discourage is taking out that loan because you're just struggling to kind of make it work financially, because taking on a loan is not going to solve that problem. It's kind of like a person, if you're in a personal relationship with somebody, and you're really struggling in that relationship, like, something has to change, right? Like, and so we look at, the loan process as a way to help, really grow the business and transform the business. And so if there's an underlying problem, that needs to be fixed and addressed first. And then as far as, if you're just starting out, kind of the same thing. We want to make sure that like taking on the debt is not a burdensome thing for you. So we need to make sure that, number one, you have a good plan in place, some experience behind you. We do not work with people who just like come from out of the woodwork and say like, oh, like I've been doing this career for 5 years and I'm bored with it, and I think farming would be cool. Like, we're just, no, that's just, sorry, not something that we're interested in. But if somebody has, worked at another farm, they've gone through, certainly training programs like you all are going through, worked with like organizations like Future Harvest, have done the work to understand, what it takes to, run a farm, then, we are definitely open to it. But there's got to be there's got to be a plan in place, and there has to be some form of revenue somewhere that we can see, or some sort of money somewhere that can help to, pay that loan back. Because when we look at, the repayment schedule, we always want to see where is the money going to come from. And so it may be an off-farm job for, and oftentimes most of the borrowers we work with, there's an off-farm job anyway. We hope over time that more farmers can farm without an off-farm job, but we know it is kind of the reality oftentimes. And so we look at, at that off-farm income. Let's see, lots of other good questions. Do you help with sourcing materials to build infrastructure? We can. Yes and no. I mean, if we have some connections, we are certainly building out our network, and we know a lot of people. There may be some situations where we can connect you to people that might have some materials, but we can't promise that. It just kind of all depends on what somebody's looking to do. Minimum loan amount, not really. No, we don't. I mean, that's what makes us unusual, is most lenders have a minimum because there's a cost that is involved in making loans, and just the labor that's involved on our part. But we want to be flexible. We did a $400 loan. That was our smallest, but beyond that, like really the smallest has been $5,000. I mean, I think if somebody had a need for maybe some training or something like that they wanted to do, and it was $1,000 or $2,000, we would consider that. I mean, we are open to all different types of requests and opportunities. Grant funding. We have done some grant funding when funders fund us and they want that money to basically be passed through as a grant. We've done that, and we'll continue to do that. There was a lot of that going on during COVID, where a lot of funding was coming to intermediaries like ours, and it was requested that was deployed as grant funding. We didn't really do much of that because we were still kind of new actually when the pandemic started. I will say that we prefer loans. Yeah, it would be great, like if we just had millions of dollars to give out in grant funding. But the reality is, until somebody comes along and supplies us with that sort of funding, we have limited funding. And to be able to create a more of an evergreen type of program, lending is the best way to do that, because when we lend money and it gets paid back, we can then use that to help benefit somebody else down the road. Whereas, grant funding goes out the door and it doesn't come back. And if you don't keep that, sort of that spigot open on one end, you could get to a point where you're like, okay, we don't have any more money to give out. So, Johnny has his hand up. Go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey, thanks, Michael. A quick question regarding, so I saw on your one slide there was like different types of operations, such as like retail and something else. I couldn't remember exactly what they said, but what caught my eye was the retail part. What are you guys' feelings on cooperative markets and how that connects to the farming operation? Because that's one thing that we're working on, in addition to setting up a small to mid-sized farming operation. We want to be able to seed a co-op market in the community. Does that fit within your model?
It does. Yeah, it does. We support, the concept of co-ops, absolutely. And so, as I said, the work we do support non-farm businesses as long as they are supporting local farmers. So in this case, sounds like, yeah, absolutely. If it's a co-op to, support local growers, local farmers, then yeah, that would be something that we would be interested in. So like any of the work we've done, I think 11 loans to non-farm businesses. All of them have had to demonstrate that they are clearly supporting local farmers by the way they source their food. So like we had one retail store on there that was, basically a small market for local producers. We've supported a bakery that has demonstrated their capacity and willingness and ability to source from local growers. We did one restaurant pre-COVID that is in Virginia Beach and that has a really good reputation of basically buying a majority of their ingredients from local producers, which is really rare. Like we would not really work with many restaurants because most of them really don't do that, even though they claim they do.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question about borrowing for farmhands and employee costs.
Mhm.
I noticed on the website it says, there are some like prohibitions. Under what circumstances are you more likely to give that type of loan versus like a more hard capital loan?
You mean like a loan to support the cost of labor for the farm? Yeah, so it's a good question. It would be similar to what I was just talking about in terms of what's really the intended outcome. So we have, I think, done a few loans where farms have wanted to grow and have wanted to add an employee or two, and and saw that as a way to grow their business and to improve their business. And so in that case, in working with the farm, we would say, okay, this all makes sense. We see what you're talking about. And, you've demonstrated your ability to operate a farm business with, let's say, 3 employees, and now you want to grow to 5, and the loan will help you do that because it will help you hire the person, help you, pay them for whatever 3 or 4 or 5 months before, production catches up. Makes a lot of sense. What we wouldn't do is if somebody said like, hey, I've got, 3 people on staff and I'm really having trouble paying them and I need a loan to pay them. That's again a case where we would come in and say, well, why is that happening? We need to take a deeper look at like why that's happening and fix that problem first and try to identify, maybe through some technical assistance, why that is an issue and try to address that and fix that. And then, maybe down the road, the farm might be in a better position to take out a loan to potentially add another person or 2.
Great. That's
That
awesome
help?
that you're able to provide the analysis and like kind of technical assistance to people who are struggling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Johnny, another question? Or do you just still have your hand up from last time? I couldn't tell. No, okay. Let's see, what else? I know, we didn't really get into like USDA programs and like, grant funding. I don't know if anybody has any questions or wanted to know, much about that process. I mean, I mentioned the EQIP program, particularly for, growers who looking for high tunnels or whatever. Those are competitive programs, but they're good programs. There are also some state programs. I know particularly in Virginia, they have a really good soil water conservation program that provides, like livestock exclusion reimbursements for, for fencing and some grazing plans and things like that. So we always encourage farms to access those programs as much as they can. And we have sort of a network. We don't really have the capacity to walk people through, but we work with another organization called Farmraise, which has a platform for helping farmers apply for those types of programs. We actually did a webinar on it back in November. And so it's a way for, again, for farmers to be able to access, because it can be challenging. It can be complicated. If any of you have ever, applied for a federal grant, you've got to have, you have to have a employer ID number. You've got to have what's called a DUNS number. You've got to have what's called a SAM account, which is System Awards Management. But it can be worth it if you can get the USDA to pay $20,000 or $15,000 for a high tunnel. We really encourage that. Question about technical assistance. Does it cost extra to the farmer even if they do not take out a loan right away? We try to work with farmers. There's no specific answer on that question. Unfortunately, being the size we are, we're not, we don't have endless amounts of capacity or funding to be able to do that. A lot of times we'll just sort of assess the situation. We oftentimes will do a cost share, like we're willing to help with the farm, connect them to people that can help them, and do a cost share for us. That helps us to know that there is buy-in and that there is commitment on the part of the farmer. And if they demonstrate the capacity and the willingness to do that, then it's a good sign going forward. Should it go to the next step for them to take out a loan? Yeah, I will. It's on our YouTube channel, which I thought there might be a link to it from our web. There should be a link to it from our website. I'll double check that and let you know. I'll let Amy Rose know, but I'm pretty sure if you go to our website, you should be able to click on YouTube. Maybe somebody can do that now and correct me if I'm wrong, but let me see. You go to our website, there should be a YouTube link at the bottom, and yeah, there it is. Yep, just click on the YouTube link at the bottom of our website, and then you'll see navigating the farm funding landscape. Anything else? Any other questions? Really good questions.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I learned a lot today. I kind of really wish I would have been in the one with you and Joanna too. I'll have to go back and watch that. It's been uploaded to our. Oh yeah. So if the other class had different questions and you guys might be interested in that session, it was the same presentation, I'm assuming?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was the same presentation. I would say, yeah, a lot of the same questions. I don't remember specifically if there were many different ones, very similar, but yeah, you could probably, if you want to watch it, you could probably, scroll forward to, halfway through, I think at the bottom of the hour, that's when the questions started. I don't think there were many that were much different than the ones that were asked tonight.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm very, what's it called? I'm very curious all the time. So you never know what somebody else is thinking or how they could interpret things. So there's always lots of good questions.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to, oh, I have a question for you, actually. Michael,
all right.
Are y'all working with Dreaming Out Loud?
Yeah, we've interacted with them quite a bit. I can't say we're like actively working with them on anything right now. We had been in really good discussions with them before COVID-19, and then of course, everything kind of like went super crazy, and I know they've gotten really busy, and they've gotten some good grant funding, so they're kind of like doing their thing. But but we're in touch with them. Zachary and I don't know if you know Zachary Curtis. She and I are on the board of MAFRAC together, the advisory board of MAFRAC. So I see Zachary on calls every other week. So we chat. You know, we're connected and definitely, yeah, in tune with, I think, each other's work. So
Very cool. Yeah, I met
yeah.
met with Chris the other day on Zoom. But
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like we always are meeting on Zoom. But yeah, he's so so impressive, and they are so
yeah,
busy. I think
yeah,
Johnny had said something about do you guys do co-ops? That's why I was asking, because he has his food
yeah.
hub there.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I think they're looking to expand and add new growers as well. So
That's
we
right.
all
Yeah. So definitely, you know, anybody that's in the DC region, yeah, try to connect up with them for sure.
he is absolutely brilliant, amazing,
Yeah.
and such a hustler.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you
You're
doing
welcome.
all of this for us
Thank
and
you.
going through it. I mean, I've been farming for almost 20 years, and it was informative to me too.
Cool. Well, good. I'm so grateful that, you know, you all invited us, and it's great to present and to chat with everybody. So thank you so much, and I wish you all best of luck. And whether we cross paths again or not, hopefully we will with a bunch of you. But definitely wish you all luck in all your endeavors.
I'm sorry. I have
Oh,
one more
sorry.
question.
Yeah.
So I've seen like some grant programs have like you need to have a match, and the match can be in the form of a loan. Like obviously you're applying to a grant, so you don't know if you're going to get it or not. Are you able to help with providing a letter of, or like a, you know what I'm kind of trying to like?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're asking.
Thank
We
you.
have not done that yet. You're not the first one to ask that, and our answer is yeah, we would be open to that. Sure, we know what that's like. We've been in that situation where we're applying for grants and need a match, and so I think we would, yeah, we would take a look at that situation and see if we can help. Yeah, absolutely, we'd be open to that. Yeah.
And is there like it sounds like you tend to review stuff like a quarter in advance, but some grants don't always give you that much time. What is your like minimum piece?
For a match or for like a bridge?
To see if you're able to like provide that letter, like, hey, you know, that grant needs a 50% match in the
Yeah.
form of a loan, like to even apply, kind of a thing.
So I would say that kind of talking somewhat hypothetically, because I can't speak from any experience of what we've done because we haven't done it. But you know, if you were applying for a grant, and let's say a 50% match is high. So if you're applying for a grant that requires a 50% match, I would encourage you to, you know, rethink that. You know, I always, I don't know, maybe that's just my personal opinion there. Like, I just always get frustrated when grants are asking for a 50% match. That's like, and the USDA, I think, is getting better about that, particularly with, you know, I think trying to encourage, you know, socially disadvantaged and, you know, women-owned businesses. I think they're definitely getting better about that. So let's say if it's a 25% match, you know, depending on the amount, it's, you know, if it's within the range of, you know, what we lend, and everything else is, you know, certainly in line with the work we do. You know, we would provide, you know, we would probably provide a, you know, we'd probably ask for, you know, you to actually fill out an application so that it's like goes through our process, and then we would review that, and we would essentially, you know, give it an approval, and then we would give you a letter that you know would allow you to submit the letter to say that, you know, if you got the grant, that you would get the match from the loan from us. So you would still need some time. Like, so if you were applying for the grant and the grant deadline was like next week, and you were to come to us and say like, hey, can you provide a letter, we would have to pass, because again, we would want to make sure that we have the time to go through our normal process. So ideally, like if you knew that you were going to be applying for a grant, giving us at least 30 days would be most ideal. Like that would be, you know, pushing it, but that we could we could probably turn that around as, to enable us to say, okay, yeah, we would be comfortable if you got this grant moving forward, with a loan. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it was all hypothetical. I just remember like seeing some of those things coming up last and was like having that in the back of my mind would just be a smart thing to know.
Yeah. And I will say too, that also a lot of grants, they won't accept loans. They require you to have like a cat. You gotta have, like you've got to show that you have the cat. Like, I think the tricky part is like you would have to get the loan first and show that like you have the cash. I don't know. It's just some of them are kind of quirky in that way. But it might work depending on the program.
That was a great question.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. All right. Well, again, thank you, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you so much. I'll see you
All
soon.
right, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think
right, take
Francesca's going to
care.
be down here at my farm next week, so I'll see y'all soon.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. Yeah, have fun. Okay,
Thanks.
see ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, since there's so few people in the room, I've been trying to think, because I want eventually over the course of these 16 weeks of roundtables for you guys to be able to get to know each other a little bit, and also not view each other as competition in the farming world, but as collaborators, to really make your networks strong, because I can't stress this enough. And when I did the keynote at the VABF this week, I kept reiterating collaboration over competition. I have gotten some of the best help that has really elevated my business and myself and been really life-giving to me in my both personal life, made my personal life easier too when you have help from other farmers around you. It's really been like some of the best help that I've ever gotten. So just for today, I'm only gonna have you do one quick thing today, but we'll do something every week. I'll call people out and just maybe take like 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe to answer. But we'll build on it from week to week. So I'm gonna start with Michael Chamberlain. What is the thing that drew you to the land? Uh-oh. All right, Jenny, pop to you. I'll come back to Michael. Or Michael, did you hear me, Michael? Okay, cool. You're muted.
I heard you. So
okay, cool.
Okay, hi, I'm Michael. I guess the thing that draws me to the land is seeing new growth, whether that's in the garden or in the wild.
Very
and
cool.
Seeing that regenerative process happening naturally in the woods.
All right, Jenny, what you got for me?
I'd say the purity of what's coming from the ground. I think like I had a rude awakening with my husband and all of his allergies, and the only safe way that we could really do it was literally to grow. And I know exactly what is in that can of green beans. I know exactly what's in that salad. I can keep them safe, and we can eat so much healthier that way.
Very cool. Okay, Jareel, you're next on my Hollywood Squares over here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What is the thing that drew you to the land or to farming?
Oh, word. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. I just want to make sure I was succinct. Originally, I was drawn to the land once I realized how disconnected and detached I was from the natural world and its rhythms.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Malcolm, you're up next on my screen.
Pretty similar to what Darrell said. It was pretty much very therapeutic for me. I think for me, it was just very calming and helped me deal with my anxiety and just feel like I was connected to something bigger.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that. We do, so my farm actually doesn't sell food anymore. We're just a care farming operation. And some of the people that we work with are like the ladies getting out of the Department of Corrections and folks going through intensive inpatient rehab, and we establish farms on their group homes for therapy. Not that you're getting out of the Department of Corrections or going through rehab, but anybody in any walk of life, you know what I'm saying? And we really wanted to reaffirm that everyone deserves the dignity of a good meal, not just like the nourishment that they get from their body, like Jenny was talking about, protecting her family and making sure their food is pure, but getting your hands in the dirt. I don't know about you, but when it starts to warm up here, I mean, I've got a greenhouse here and it's great and all, but when I can really get outside and get my hands in the dirt, I never feel more alive in the whole year. Like that day is the best day of my year, every single year. It's
Same
like
here.
life-giving, you know?
Definitely.
All right, thank you. All right, Dewey, what you got for me?
Amy Rose, I know you want a good answer to that. I will do what I usually do. Defer to my wife. Barbara.
Oh my gosh, you win the thing today.
He's such a turd. Can you repeat the question? Can somebody
Barbara,
repeat the
you gotta
question?
answer
Because
for both of y'all.
I'm like got background noise here.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you because I was laughing.
Can someone repeat the question because I have background noise?
Oh, okay. So you're gonna answer for you and Dewey. What's the thing that drew you to the land?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Well, it's not a hard one. It's hard to explain, but I just knew when we saw our farm that that's where we were supposed to be. But my husband was cursed in the fact that I read The Omnivore's Dilemma. And he also bought me Eating on the Wild Side. And I started to realize that what we are being told by the government and the nutritionists and what we're getting in the store was not the same thing that I grew up on. And it's not what I wanted my grandchildren. And so being Army veterans, we decided that we had a problem to solve. And so we decided to become farmers. And we're just blessed that we are really good working together. And so we started with a home garden up in Manassas, Virginia, on a 1.5 acre lot. And we were not farming all 1.5 acres, most of it's wooded. And we kept doing our research and building our plan. And we found this place online and went down to check it out, and the owner was there, and we walked it, and we just knew that's where we were meant to be. And so now this is our first year 100% farming on the farm. And so we're just grateful to have you in our life, Amy Rose.
Oh,
and so this year, Lake Monticello, which is our northern neighbor, is going to be blessed with pastured broilers, laying hens, and some row crops. But we are extremely grateful for the Beginning Farmer program because we have no idea what we're doing except for what the textbooks say.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah, we're excited and scared at the same time. It's like learning to rappel all over again.
Well, hopefully we can help you with that, because I'm going to share with you all of the mistakes I made in the last 20 years so that y'all don't have to make my mistakes. Yes.
Benjamin Franklin says, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And it's one of my favorite quotes.
That's good. Very good. All right,
See,
Maya,
a much better answer than you would have got from me.
That was beautiful.
He would have probably given you a more succinct answer.
Thank you. Maya, I got you up next.
I would say similar to what Malcolm was saying, the therapeutic nature of farming is sort of what initially brought me into it. I find farming to be very meditative. It's the ability to work with your hands, heart, and head. So constantly learning, but also being able to put that in motion and actually, build something with that is one of the things that brought me to farming. Also cultural connections, just being able to learn about different places and people through farming and food. I was, and so that's another thing. And then also just being able to take more control of the health of our people and our land. And so, you know, and then just also self-sufficiency. And another thing that really resonated with me, I remember Bernard Turner saying one time that one of his quotes that I've read was, I farm for my own liberation. And so being able to sort of divest from you know, these systems that don't really serve us, and kind of create our own solutions is another thing that brought me to farming.
Wow, hands, heart, and head. That was really, really beautifully profound. I love that. And it's the truest thing ever. That was gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lacey, I have you up next.
Hey, everybody. So mine's a two-pronged. Yep. Two-pronged approach. It was more about, I think there's something genuinely special about putting your hands in the soil and saying, yes, I just grew that, which is very similar to parenting. And I think that's where comes my next point, is that I wanted to have control, or a level of control over the quality of food that I was putting on my table and that I was feeding to my children. And so I think both of those really brought me back to farming.
For some reason, my Hollywood squares just reorganized themselves. I don't know whether y'all have the same thing going on, but I'm gonna make, okay, so Alicia, you have not gone, right? Uh-oh. I think she's MIA. Okay, Frenchie, what do you have for me? What brought you to farming?
Hey everybody. I was just writing a couple notes while I was listening to everybody else. Basically what brought me to farming, I would say, is an opportunity for me to live freely and like to create a space for others to see the beauty of nature and the creations of it that could come with it. It's not just, you know, being in the dirt. It's like, you know, overall experience, especially if you're into meditation and trying to live a stress-free lifestyle, even though farming is not stress-free, but you know, just the ambiance of it. I'm just trying to create a whole different vibe or atmosphere or awareness too at the same time with what I'm trying to do with my farmland. Once I
Yeah,
get to my farmland.
that's beautiful. Yeah, and it is liberation. Yeah, we're a lot harder to control if we can feed ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're a lot harder to manipulate if we can feed ourselves. Okay, I've got Charisse. You're up next on my squares. All right, we'll circle back. Johnny, I know you're
Oh,
there.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Okay, sorry. Hang
Yeah,
on, Johnny.
sorry. My name is Sharice Finney. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. What got me involved in agriculture, really growing up in Richmond and noticing that it's a true desert. After college, I went into natural resource management, and I did a lot of like large scale land restoration projects and working in a nursery and going out and planting those plants and helping restore an ecosystem. Really got me wanting to do that more, and, especially when you tie it into food and how much food you can find just like out in the woods foraging or and whatnot. And that's what kind of led me this way.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful. Hey, how far are you in Richmond City proper?
I'm in Chesterfield.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
just
Oh, I need to introduce you to Dr. Kilimanjaro from Soulfire if you don't already know her. She's in Chesterfield as well.
Oh no, I don't. Oh, that'd be interesting.
She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, let me try to circle back to Alicia. Alicia, are you there? I feel bad because I'm afraid that I'm like talking too fast and not giving people enough time to unmute themselves. All right, Johnny, what brought you to the land?
Sorry. Okay. Well, I want to steal Maya's answer, head, heart, and hands too, but I won't do that.
No, that's fair enough. I said it over and over into my head like 3 times so that I would remember it because it was so awesome.
I'm putting that on a t-shirt, Maya, and I promise I'll send you one. So, honestly, need and complete terror. You know, I'm looking at the way, you know, I'm looking at the way that things are just going in the world, food security, access to food, healthy options, like what's on the shelves in the local stores. You know, the lack of what's on the shelves in our regular food delivery system, like Giant, Safeway, wherever you shop. And I'm terrified. So I literally, you know, that has forced me outside of my own like little home pot gardening to like bigger pursuits and bigger space that not only addresses a need for me, but addresses a need for the community. Because I can be good, but if my community around me is good, I'm not good. So yeah, so
Yes.
that's pretty much it.
It is terrifying. You are right. Oh, but that was, I'm sorry I laughed. That was like your delivery was masterful right there. Okay, Michelle. It's Michelle Coleman, right? That's the Michelle C, right? Maybe we'll circle back. All right, last but not least, Keisha.
Hi. So what got me into farming, I was actually on a family vacation and we were playing a game and the question came up was, if you had $1 million, what would you do? And it came out my mouth so seamlessly that I said I would have a farm so I could feed the surrounding communities. And since that day, it has just been on my mind. I have no background in agriculture whatsoever. I am in medicine. So when I was finishing my degree for biotechnology, my last class was a business management class. And the teacher was like, you're going to write a business plan. Whatever dream that you've ever dreamed of before, take that and write a business plan for it. So I wrote the business plan for my farm. And that just motivated me to start networking and reaching out. I've been interning at Woodbox Farm. I found you guys, the beginner farmers training, and it's just been full speed ahead. And being able to get my hands into the land, you do understand the value of just connecting to earth. People don't understand that you heal being outside for 30 minutes, actually connecting to the ground. It like renews you. It does something to you. And then knowing how food affects your health, because I work in a laboratory and I see people's health on a more metabolic scale versus just looking at somebody saying, oh, you're physically fit and you're not. It shows how the diet really impacts people's health. So yeah, everything's just full circle and going hand in hand. So I'm ready, yay.
That's awesome. I love it. And I love that we have a scientist on board. You're going to be well equipped for this.
Keisha, you're gonna like, I also have a biology degree. And so Keisha, like, you're actually gonna understand what pH means and stuff. So like, it actually will help a little bit. Like,
okay, let's see if we can circle back to Michelle. Michelle, are you there? Okay, Alicia, one more try. Okay, yeah, so for me, I want to do all of the things, I guess, but food was historically used as a weapon of war against my ancestors. My family is Alnabok and Penobscot from Quebec and New England, and you know, our cornfields were burned and our caches of food that were carefully stored for hard times were stolen and destroyed. And in nearly all cases, we were removed from our ancestral hunting and fishing lands and grounds to unfamiliar landscapes that we didn't know how to plant and cultivate. So, yeah, so it's, you know, for a lot of natives, it's impossible to return to those homelands. And a lot of our native cultivars are being lost to the ages because they have been replaced by the 30 some varieties that we all see in the grocery store. And I love growing heritage foods. Actually, my favorite thing to grow is Blauerspecht kohlrabi. But I do like to steward a lot of really rare corn and squash varieties that some of which, even if you Google them, you won't find hardly anything of them. I've been the last few years, I've been one of the only two and the only one growing particular varieties that we produce here in the entire United States. So I feel kind of like it's my responsibility to my ancestors to make sure that I steward those things and keep them alive, and then pass them into the hands of all of y'all. I'm sure that I'll see you all at the field days and be loading you up with all sorts of crazy seeds you've never heard of or seen before. So, oh yes, we actually, Three Sisters is just kind of like a pan-Indian thing when we're 600 different nations with all distinct cultures. So the Abenaki and Penobscot have 7 sisters. We've got Adabalek, Wasawa, Gizos, Scamon, which is corn, Adabakwal is beans, Wasawa is squash, Gizos is sister sunflower. I can never remember the name of ground cherry in my native language, and because there's hardly any of us that speak it anymore, and my grandfather and grandmother and my father are all deceased. So I don't have a lot of practice other than some friends online. And then we've got Odamo, which is tobacco, but tobacco rustica, not like the tobacco that's grown in Virginia. You don't want to smoke tobacco rustica, it'll make you throw up and hallucinate, which might be kind of fun for some people if you want to hallucinate, but I don't suggest that. And what we call Ojibwa potatoes, which are just Jerusalem artichokes or fartichokes if you want to be funny about it, which are actually delicious, but they will make you fart until your gut microbiome kind of acclimates to that stuff. But I'm sure I will be seeing you guys at the field days and loading you up with all sorts of stuff, because I have kind of made it my mission in life to make sure that things like Pima white corn that is not sold by seed companies commercially get into the hands of people like you that know and want to grow and will have the knowledge and ability to steward them and then pass them on to future generations. Because really, if we're not making decisions for generations of people yet unborn, we have no right to make those decisions for ourselves. I think that's a Theodore Roosevelt quote, but I love that. And it really kind of sums up kind of how I try to live my life every day. It's not, I know that I will never probably see the fruits of my labor in my lifetime with the care farming that I do, but if we can collectively, as by healing the food system, create a stronger community, it's going to make that fabric of our community stronger for those down the line, and our kids and our grandkids are going to benefit from all of that. That was way more than 2 or 3 minutes. I apologize, but I will let you all go, and thank you for being here tonight. And I cannot wait to meet you guys in person this spring and summer. And oh wait, what's this, Barbara? Sunchokes, corn, winter squash. Oh no, Ojibwa potatoes. They're not like regular potatoes. Jerusalem artichokes. They're native to Virginia though. They grow all over North America. Tobacco rustica, which is our sacred ceremonial tobacco, ground cherries, and sunflowers. And I have all of those, so I can bring you my 7 sisters if you guys want to try it out. But with that, does anyone have any questions for me today? I can't imagine that you would really have any questions, but do you have any questions for me today? All good? All right, enjoy your evening. I'm happy to be able to let you guys escape a little bit early, and I will see you in 2 weeks.